Hello everybody, welcome back to another Woodworking Wisdom. Today we're in our crafty room here in Axminster Tools in our HQ. So today's demo is salad servers. So we're going to make a pair of wooden salad servers. Really nice, simple little project, not much kit to look at. We're going to cut these out on the scroll saw, which I'll show you in a moment. But you could cut these out on a bandsaw, you could use a coping saw, whatever you've got at home really. I'm using a scroll saw because it gives you that lovely clean finish. And that's going to save a little bit of kind of tidying up at the end of the project. So let's have a little look at the servers themselves. I've just transferred these on here using a bit of carbon paper, and this is a bit of tulips about 15mm, 16mm thick. Like I say, used a bit of carbon paper like this, easily available online. That's the template we're working from, and of course you could do this any shape you want. We've not provided a template for this, but have a look online. There's lots of different templates there. And I've just used a wooden spoon, a shape of a wooden spoon, and I'm going to put a couple of little slots in one of our spoons. If you're into scroll sawing, you're going to have your own method already of transferring templates onto your pieces of wood. Sometimes I like to cut out the piece of paper itself, so I'll cut the outline and use something like a Copydex glue to stick it straight onto the piece of timber. Some people like to use masking tape and then stick paper with Pritt stick on top of that. But yeah, use your chosen method to transfer your template, and then away we go. I've laid them quite close to one another. That way we get less kind of scrap in between, and we could potentially get another set of servers out of this little board. Okay. Going with the grain on this piece of timber, so we don't really want to keep it short grained. They're not going to be under a massive lot of pressure, but you know, potentially if the grain is flowing this way, it's going to be a bit short grained across the neck area and the handle. So I've laid them straight with the grain, and they're ready to cut on the scroll saw. So what else do we need? I've got my scroll saw set up over here. PPE is a must, so goggles as a bare minimum. If you're sensitive to dust, put your dust mask on as well. I've hooked this up to an extractor, so it's going to take away most of the kind of airborne nasty dust. So on the scroll saw here, I've set this up. This is my favourite blade. This is the number 5 modified geometry, and we're just going to really go around this shape. So nice and easy, nice simple lines. There's not too many hard curves to go around, so we're just going to kind of cruise around our line. I'm going to push this blower so it's pointing at the blade, and that's going to clear our line of sight as we go. I'm going to come in here where we're very close to the edge of the board and just gently approach that line. So I'm going to pick up on that line, gentle downwards pressure onto the table, and that's just going to stop the project from lifting. Nice smooth cut, we don't want to rush this too much. Just gently feeding the timber. Now we're cutting, I can see where I need to point my blower. And just following the line. And I'm cutting just on the outside of our line. If we drift off a little bit, we can back up. Get the little shoulder forms using the side of the blade, and then we're back on track. So even though this is a straight line, making tiny little adjustments as we go. with these scroll saws, they're designed to cut really tight corners and tight radiuses. So sometimes a straight line is one of the hardest things you can do. So not much to hold on to here, so I'm just planting my finger down on the table almost as a pivot point, and then flat palm here and just swinging the project around and feeding it onto that blade. Again, no rush, take it nice and slow, and this modified geometry blade is just breezing through. We're not feeding it on too far, so the blade's staying nice and straight. Sometimes if you feed it, a little bit too quick, the blade tends to bow backwards and then you lose a little bit of control. And the blade's going to want to dive in the path of least resistance. So nice, steady, gentle feed. And just follow the shape. Is doing a great job of taking away all that dust. I'm getting a little bit on the table here, but none of it's coming up. I can't smell it. Trying to keep this rotating as we come around the cut. So it's feeding and rotating at the same time. Again, we've not got much to hold on to here, so this hand's doing most of the work of kind of rotating the workpiece. And our spoon in the middle now, we've cut almost all right the way around. So I'm just planting a finger on top of that spoon shape. Rotating through that cut, and then we should join up with the one where we started. Good. Just opening that up, reverse back, and then we can leave our spoon shape on there. Now it seems quite thick in section compared to the handle, but we want to do some texturing and stuff on this in a moment. So I've left it that little bit thicker. And we might want to shape the back of the bowl and things like that. So next shape, I'm just going to do a little cut here. Oops. And again here. So we can remove that waste material and it's not flapping around or catching on the side of the table or anything like that. So I'm going to come in nice and close to the project across the top here again. I'm going to ignore those little cutouts, the kind of prongs on the fork if you will. For now we're just going to cut straight around that bowl shape. I've gone a little bit where I've transferred it on, I had a little gap there, so I've kind of given myself a little bit of extra waste in that area, and we can sand that back in with an abrasive to give us that nice constant curve. And then we're back to our straight line. Just shake my hand out. Sometimes I get little cramps and stiff wrists. Well, I'm in that kind of safe zone. I like to just shake that off. And again, nice, smooth, steady feed rate. Now, I'm going to follow this curve round. Sometimes the temptation is just to come straight out the bottom of the cut there, and you know, so you can remove this piece. I actually want to keep that on. Gives me something to kind of hold on to while we're manoeuvring this piece around. And you know, the scroll saw will easily come around this radius here. For this curve. And then we're back on our straight line. Again, just cutting just outside our line. And that way we've got all that information still there. If there's a bit we've gone wonky, we can sand back to our line, or you know, take a file to it if we wanted. So I'm just drifting off slightly, I'm just bringing it back. Really gently putting a tiny bit of sideways pressure on, and I've changed the angle of the board ever so slightly, and that will just form a little shoulder and bring us back closer to our line where I want to be. So I was holding it here then, when actually we've cut that piece, so that's just lifted the workpiece. So I'm bringing my thumb over onto the, or fingers over onto the top of the spoon now. I'm confident to come up close to this blade with my thumbs. I know where it's going to be. I know I'm not putting too much pressure on, so we're not going to run away with ourselves with a cut. And I'm just driving this one forward here and putting pressure down on the table with my other hand there. So this one's twisting and this one's kind of pushing forward. And sometimes where the two lines meet, we might get a little pip, which I'll show you in just a moment. So I'm not sure if we can quite see, but there's a little line that just comes across here. I can feel it with my fingers, but otherwise it's nice and smooth, and a great finish off of that scroll saw. Not much cleaning up to do around there. And that's why I use the scroll saw really rather than the bandsaw. Probably do it a lot quicker on the bandsaw. You know, it'd be round there in a minute. But yeah, we wouldn't get that clean finish, and it would probably take me more than a minute to sand it. Okay, so let's come back over to the bench. We've got our two sort of salad servers nearly ready to go. One, we've got our little fork shape in, and actually we need to revisit the scroll saw just to cut that in. But you can see we've got the beginnings of a pair of salad servers, and like we were saying before, we could probably get another set out of this board. If I just poke that across, rejiggle them, and I would probably, if we were going to make a few sets of these, keep a master and just use that as your template, and you can do some really quick marking out then. Okay, so let's go back. We need to just cut these two little bits out here. So the kind of one prong of the fork, and then we've got these two side bits. I'm just going to cut them out, and then we can start to shape our spoons. We're going to use a little bit of power carving or sanding, and we've also got some really lovely Flexcut tools, you know, the kind of carving knives. So of course you could carve these completely. I'm going to cheat and just use the power tool to save a little bit of work on the bowls of these, and potentially knock off these hard edges as well. Okay, so let's just go back to our scroll saw. Now, again, a couple of ways you could do this. You could come in, switch direction again, and cut it out like that. The way I like to do it, again, we're going to approach the blade, allow it to form that little shoulder or groove, and we're going to cut our line pretty much down to that corner. Another one running parallel to that. Reverse up a little bit. I'm going to swing the spoon around, and I'm going to come up to the bottom of this line, about halfway, and just cut into that corner. That should release that piece. Again, just remove that one. And now this time, I can rest that outside face on the back of the blade there, and bring it right to our corner, and just trim off that bottom little triangle. There it goes. I find that gives us a really nice little clean finish in both corners. So again, these can be a little, you know, if you were to bring a tool in there like a file or rasp or something, it can be quite tricky to access down in those bottom corners. So, you know, if we can go as clean as we can on the scroll saw, just checking they're roughly the same size in case I need to make another cut. And then going to, so we're down in that bottom corner, we're going to reverse a little, cut into the piece of waste, onto our bottom line, and straight across to our corner. that releases that little chip. And we've got a nice sharp 90 degrees or whatever shape you want to cut here. And then again, resting on the side of the blade, we travel into that other corner. And that's our little prongs cut out. Good. So there we go, there's our kind of pair there. A little bit of work to do. And I'm going to have a little bit of a jiggle around on the bench now. Got some other tools we want to bring out. Okay everybody, so welcome back. We've had a bit of a pack away with the scroll saw and stuff, and got a few different tools out. First on the list is my little air filter. These are really good if you're doing lots of sanding, especially this kind of power sanding that we're going to be doing. The ARBORTECH mini carver. This is a fantastic tool. We got an abrasive disc on that. Really nice and easy to fix. Just goes down through that little spindle there. Really nice tool. This is going to carve this bowl out really nice and quickly. And then also the kind of Black & Decker power file, another favourite of mine. I love these kind of quick sanding. You know, but they're great to remove material quickly and throw shapes on things without too much, you know, too much hard work. Okay. All I've done here is I've revisited the template, and we've just drawn in a little curve here. I'm not being too precious about it, but it's just going to give me a good guide of where we can start to create the shape on the bowl. I'm going to leave this bit flat on these, on both of the spoon and the kind of fork style, but yeah, just drawing in that little bowl shape. Okay, so I'm going to pop the air filter on. Okay, just make sure it's up to speed. That's all good. We're getting a nice little airflow through there. And if you're doing this a lot, you'd be wanting to wear a dust mask, perhaps even one of the powered hoods. Because this is a bit messy, it is a bit dusty, and these kind of rotary power tools generally throw a lot of airborne dust up. This is going to catch the majority of it, but if I feel we're getting too much dust in the room, I'm going to switch over to my respirator just for precaution. Okay. Also, we've got the little Stanley vise here. It's got a ball joint, so you can kind of position the spoon wherever you want it to be. And we're just going to flip this on. I'm going to move my template because it's flapping around there. It can be a little bit distracting. So I'm just moving that back out of the way. And I'm going to start close up to where we see that line. Quite a loud tool, so I'm not going to do much chatting while we're working. I just felt the project move while I was doing a bit of the sanding then, so just making sure everything's nice and tight, that we've got a good grip without over tightening these jaws. We don't want to bite too much into the handle. You could always put a little kind of soft jaw, a little piece of sacrificial timber in there. Okay, so back to it. Always good to have a little test run, make sure things are working well, working for you. I haven't got too much dust off of this yet, so I'm happy that we can just carry on. And I think that's about it really. Just created a really shallow little bowl. It's changed the shape down in the middle here, so we've got just a gentle bowl. And this isn't to, you're going to be picking up lots of leaves and stuff with this. So I would try and leave that rim on there as much as we can. And that's going to allow it to kind of grip. So happy with that side. I'm going to flip the servers over. And actually, let me just grab a pencil a moment. Just want to make a couple of little marks on our workpiece. I'm going to give this, so starting at where the bowl starts, I'm just going to use my finger to kind of trace round the rim here. And again, this is just a little indicator of where I want this to be. Using my finger as a spacer, and the pencil's just overhanging the edge of the project and trying to scribe a little line around there. Good. So flipping it over, we're going to have a go with our power file now. And again, this is really just throwing a quick shape on here. This does have almost like a little cyclone dust collector on it, but it's still going to throw a bit of dust into the air. Okay, so we've got a little dust collector on the back here, but yeah, this thing works quite kind of aggressively. And now I'm going to just create a bit of a shape on the top edge of the spoon here. I'm going to try and keep where we've got these prongs coming forward, try and keep the rotation of the belt coming this way so we're not kind of snagging the belt or potentially pulling up any of the grain here. Sure I'm not covering up the camera. You can see I'm kind of orientating the belt to throw it towards our dust collector there. So I'm working this way, the belt's rotating like this, and hopefully that's going to help with a bit of the extraction. There's my pencil. So I'm just going to give this a little dust off. I want to see where that pencil line that we drew is. And yeah, we're kind of coming down nice and close. And you know, that's not a hard and fast line. If you kind of feel like you're there, you know, you don't have to come all the way down to that line, but what it is going to do is give us a nice indicator that it's, you know, we've taken off the same amount on both sides. Okay, then you can just see in that camera shot where we've got that little dip, it's a kind of a little dome. Okay, so we're trying to produce a little dome on the top here. Have a little feel around, make sure you're happy with the kind of balance of it, or symmetry of it. Stop every now and then just to have a little peek, wipe this kind of dust off, and I think we've taken a little bit more there than we have here, and that's what that line's doing. It's giving us a good indicator of how much we need to take off. I think I'm pretty happy with that. So let's have a bit of a closer look. Let's go here. So we've got, so I'm just finding center on the camera. We've got this little kind of dipped or domed shape on our spoon now. Just rotating it. I'm looking at it down the kind of length of it. I'm pretty happy with that. It could do with a little bit more, but I think I would, as we're going to carve this, shave off any other bits with a knife, or if we've got any kind of lumps and bumps, we can tidy that up afterwards. Quite a chunky handle so far, so what I'm going to do now is just knock off this hard edge. Again, if you wanted to put some softer jaws in here, just a piece of wood. We're not actually putting too much stress on it with this tool, so I'm not really gripping it that hard. So just knocking off that hard edge by putting a chamfer along the length. So we've come down this edge here. I'm not sure, it's not really showing very well on camera. Let's come a bit closer. Oh, where are we? Okay. So you can see we've got this kind of chamfered edge on here now. If I get rid of that dust, we've got a chamfered edge compared to this hard edge here. Okay, so just softened it in. Let's do this side now. If it's going to move, it's while you're working on this area furthest away from the clamp. And again, I'm not gripping that too tightly. Okay, so you really want to do that with both of your spoons, or salad servers I should say. So you get that nice, nice even, we want the shallow bowl on this, remember, with a kind of raised rim. I've brought it right to the edge of the rim, this bowl, but of course, again, you could give yourself a little space around so you get that raised rim there. We want to do that to both of these salad servers. Okay, I'm fairly happy with the shape. Probably could do with a little bit of a tweak here and there, but like I say, we're going to do a little bit of carving on these now. So let's move away my kind of dusty, messy stuff, and I'm going to whittle these. I'm not going to use them in clamps. We don't need any big carving gear. We're just going to whittle away our spoons. Okay, cool. Right, so we've done our power carving, so we've gotten rid of a bit of the waste and put a quick shape on this. I want to put a little bit of texture, almost like a kind of hand finished or hand carved texture, just on the piece before we oil it and finish up with any kind of sanding or anything like that we need to do. So I've got a couple of knives here that we want to have a look at. So first one, we've got our Flexcut hook knife. This is the right-handed hook knife. This would be great for clearing up any little bits in the that's left in the bowl. We need to be careful how we hold these knives. They are very sharp. And they need to be, you need to give them a little bit of respect and just kind of learn the technique of how they're handled. Quite often you have a thumb on the workpiece and we just use this kind of rolling grip. Okay, so you can see there it's not going to overshoot. The angle of the camera looks like it's kind of coming towards my thumb, but actually if I tip it up, we're limiting there. So I can only grip this in that far, and we're never going to catch our thumb like that. Always keep your hands behind the workpiece, so if it does slip off, there's no chance of it kind of getting into your hands. You don't want to cut yourself with these, because like I say, they are so sharp, and that's what you want really. You want them to be sharp. You don't want to have to fight them through the cut. And then the sharp knife will give you a cleaner finish. It's less hard work and less fatigue in your hands. So right-handed hook knife, and of course you could carve this bowl using the hook knife, no problem at all, just takes a little bit longer. And then we've got the cutting knife as well, really useful. This one I use a lot. And then we got a detail knife, that one's often used as well. So but the cutting knife, the roughing knives and the hook knives are all really good tools. They're all going to be useful in your kind of toolbox. So I'm going to use a couple of different techniques and ways of holding it, but make sure you're safe and make sure you're cutting it in a safe manner. There's different ways we can do it. We can use our kind of closing hand type cuts for whittling. We can use this kind of pivot technique, so one hand on the back of the knife, your other thumb, which is holding the project, is being used as a kind of pivot point, and that will allow you to cut as well. Grain direction is important, so as you start to cut this, every piece of wood's going to be different, so I can't advise you on what you're doing at home, but what you'll feel is if you're cutting it the wrong way, and let's put our knives to one side if we're not using them, away on the bench there. you'll feel it kind of dig into the grain. So this is carving nicely in that direction. We're getting our little shavings coming off. And like I say, I want to do a kind of faceted texture on these, so they're going to purposely leave the knife marks in them. And then when we put an oil on it, it will catch the light in different ways. So this is carving really well this direction. Okay, and just there, as we come up to this neck, we've got the grain running this direction, so it's just caught there. So we can come back the other way using that gripping technique. So I'm kind of closing my hands down and just trimming that kind of broken grain away. Because the grain's coming this direction, we know we can cut across that and back out into the kind of waste, or the kind of open air, if you will. And we're creating this kind of rough, textured look. Can come back this other way now, because we know we're not near that neck area. And I would just spend time with this, and I'm not trying to make this all smooth. This is a faceted look we're going for. And this is the bit you want to go and find your quiet area, get the radio on, or your CDs or whatever you're listening to, and just relax with this bit. It's not, well, you get chips, but no kind of mess. What I tend to do is get myself a little box or a box lid, and slowly whittle away. In fact, I'll show you my whale in a minute. It's what I've been carving at the moment, and I'll show you my little setup because it's all in its box with the tools. But today we're just working on the bench here. So again, we've caught onto the grain, it's snagging, so I'm just going to come back this way. One thumb tucked behind the project, and we're closing our grip, making sure we're not coming anywhere near this hand, and just kind of scooping where that grain had lifted. And so you could do a lot more shaping to this if you want to drop down the neck here and bring it back up. That can look really nice. For today's demo, we're really just putting some cuts on here to make it look kind of gnarly and give the handle a little bit more. What's the word? Kind of texture and what's the word I'm looking for? Tactile. Make it more tactile. Okay. So just working away on these corners first, and then that's going to give me access to that top flat spot. And this is my favourite bit, really. Just relaxing. Nice quiet space. Just you and your knives and piece of timber. So I'm just feeling it. It's got a really nice kind of texture going on. Using that pivot technique here. And there's lots of different ways to hold this. Sometimes you need to steady it against your body, give you a little bit more control and stability. And that handle, if we do potentially slide out of a cut, my fingers are butting up against this kind of pad with my thumb, so it's not going anywhere. Sometimes the camera angles can make it look like it's getting very close to your hands, but I'm being very aware of where my hands are and where that cutting edge is. And if we come to a place where we can't tuck our thumb somewhere safe, just taking that extra precaution, potentially taking a slightly lighter cut to get this how you want it. And of course you could do this all smooth as well. If you wanted to carry on with the power carving, you could put a really nice kind of smooth on this, a smooth round. I quite like this textured or faceted look. I'm just going to swap my knife out there. Oh, that feels better. I had a bit of a blunt knife there. If you do feel your tools are need a little hone up, I always keep this Flexcut strop nearby, so we can put a little bit of this cutting compound on there, the gold bar, put the knife down flat, just bring it up to engages on that bevel, and then just drag that towards you. And I'll do it, you know, a few swipes one way, and then again a few swipes on the other side. Like all these tools, you want to keep them sharp rather than allow them to go right back to blunt and have to, you know, take them to a grinder really, or maybe Tormek or Ultimate Edge, whatever kind of linisher or whatever it is that you sharpen on. But those little hones, doesn't take long. It's not too much of a chore. So just taking a little bit more off these corners, again to give me access to that flat on the top. We want all of that flat carved. So just looking down there, trying to put some bigger cuts on, because actually I've done lots of little ones, and it you know, we want that kind of bold, so it looks intentional that we've kind of carved it this way. So taking some bigger kind of pieces out now. Give it that really textured look. Sometimes when you put two cuts next to each other, they kind of sit down and look like one big cut. So trying to break that up a little bit. Okay, so is that gonna focus on here? Not really, but on top here we've got some little facets all the way along the handle, kind of gnarly and knobbly, and I can feel the texture of it. Feels really good. Potentially a little bit hard on this edge, so I would just get yourself a bit of abrasive, not to be kept in the same drawer as your knives, and just run along this edge here. And let's just soften that hard edge there. And I would just keep working at that cutting with the knife. Wait until you've got a texture that you really like. Come around that bottom edge. Any little bits that we may have missed on the scroll saw, we could just blend them in. What I want is to keep that edge quite sharp around the bowl. I find that gives you a bit better grip when you're starting to grab the leaves and stuff. But that's approaching something really nice. I would just take off that little bit of where we use the transfer paper. Just remove any of the kind of harder sanded areas from that we got off of our ARBORTECH mini carver. And if you're doing deeper bowls and stuff, of course that mini carver you can get different attachments for. You get the little mini industrial wheel. That really, if you want to do things like ladles or deeper spoons, my goodness, that will just have all that waste material out in seconds. We've gone for quite a shallow bowl on this one, so it just kind of dips in a little bit through there, and keep this hard edge nice and flat and sharp. I can see here just a little bit of an area that needs blending in on this shoulder, and again I would probably do that with my abrasive. Just soften that in. And just take your time to kind of blend in any shapes and things that you might want to get rid of. And that's about it really. Like I say, do the same on the other spoons. So if you've got a matching pair, and then you've got yourself a really nice set of salad servers. If these are for a particular bowl, if you've got an idea that they're going to go in your perfect bowl, what you might want to do is set it in that bowl, and maybe potentially carve a little groove in so it sits on the rim of the bowl. There's lots you can do with these spoons, and sometimes they're for a specific job. Sometimes they're just going to be, your random salad servers. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us for another Woodworking Wisdom. Stay tuned, be back for more. There's all sorts of different demonstrations coming up. Hopefully that's been useful, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.